This video is going to be a little different. I'm going to be sharing with you how I set up each month for the astrology horoscopes, or to get organized to find out what's going on astrologically. Generally, I will do the setup for each month ahead of time, and this particular one is for April 2021. And I'm just going to show you how I lay out the information I require for each month when I'm doing work on astrology. So I do use the journal for this. At the moment, I'm using the Leucotherm, and I'm actually starting a new journal normally it goes over a year, but this time it happened to break mid-year. So what I'm going to be doing is setting out, I use a 2-page spread for each month, and I set out the left and the right hand page in particular ways. I did do a video about this about 3 years ago, and this is more of an update about how I work with organizing the actual planetary positions and so on. So that you are going to need some equipment. You're going to need obviously your journal. I use a ruler, I use a pencil, I have a 360-degree protractor so I can draw the circle as well. And I also will be using a compass, straightforward, to draw the circles on the left-hand page that we're going to be working with. Also, you will require some colors. In this particular video, I'm using the Tombow colors, and I have 12 colors, one for each sign, and I'll go through that later. Of course, you could use crayons or whatever else you have available. And you're also really going to need an ephemeris. I'll get to that a little later on. So I start off on the right-hand page. I am right-handed. I'll start up on the right-hand page, drawing horizontally across. That's going to be my main title. And then I'm putting several columns down the page for the month. There are going to be a few different columns. We're going to have a column for the date. We're going to have a column for the day. There will also be a column for the moon's sign, and that will go just there on the right hand side of the page. You look at things like these, Get Organized and Chart with Me. It shows, I like working with the color. I like the visualness of having each month on one page. All the information is available elsewhere, but I like to put it in my journal, so I'm working with each of these features that's cropping up during the course of the month, and I just enjoy doing it. I enjoy having this visual representation of how the month was, and I can look back and see what the months were like last year or the year before. And also, of course, when you're planning ahead, you can start working on the next 6 months and get those lined up ahead of time if you're writing future horoscopes. So it's, I don't know, I really do enjoy doing this. So first I'm going to write the month and the year at the very top. So this is the one we're doing here, is for April 2021. And then I'll go over and write the titles of the columns. So the first column on the left is the actual date of the month, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 30. The second column will be the day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then my far right column will actually contain the moon's sign, because I like to follow along as the moon is moving during the course of the month. What I'm doing now is I'm actually just writing the date down that first column. So each day of the month will have a line on the right-hand page. So any changes or planetary features that occur on a particular day will be written on that line for the day. And I'll just finish off there, writing all the dates all the way down from 1 to 30. So that's going to be our first reference that we're going to look at on this page. Now I'm just going to be reaching for my ephemeris to find the page for April 2021, and I just want to just highlight the information that we're going to pull from the ephemeris. All the information that I take to put into my journal comes from this main ephemeris, and down at the bottom you can see that the main data that I'm going to be pulling will be in that areas, and we'll go over that a little more detail in a moment. So now I'm working on the second column from the left, and here I'm going to put the days of the week. So that's the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It just helps me when working with horoscopes to be able to say on Tuesday Mercury's retrograde, or the new moon on Friday, rather than always having to just reference the actual date of the month. Then I'm going to divide the weeks with a horizontal line. I start my weeks on a Sunday, so for me Sunday is the first day of the week, and I know some people do it differently, but anyway, I like to break it into weeks, because often if you're doing horoscope work, you're going to be doing the week of the 14th to the 21st or something like that. And it's easier on the eye just to be able to see where the weeks are split in this whole great big month. So now we're going to turn to the left-hand side, which is where I like to have basically images in all of my journals. I tend to put the information on the right and the images on the left. So with my compass, I'm going to find, this is a dotted bullet journal, so I'm actually putting the actual point of the compass in on a dot, very much in the middle. It doesn't really matter, and I'm trying to make that original circle, that initial circle, as wide as possible over the page. I'm doing it in pencil first. Then I will go in with a slightly smaller circle. It's about 5 millimeters in, a quarter of an inch in, just for the signs. Then I will do a much smaller one where I'm going to be paying attention to the moon's phase at some point. And then my total inner circle will be about 5 millimeters further in than that one. So all in all, you've got 4 circles that you've described with your pencil. At this point, I'm now taking my 360-degree protractor, and I'm lining the central point of it up at the actual pinpoint where I put the compass in. Then I'll be lining the top, the 90-degree at the top, to the top to make sure all the verticals are there, to make sure the whole thing's lined up. Then I just hold it in place, and with a pencil, I'm just marking out the 30-degree marks, because these are going to be the sign marks on my page. So this circle is bigger than the actual circle I drew, but we're going to be drawing these diagonal and vertical and horizontal lines to demarcate each of the signs in a moment. You can do this with a half protractor, but I do prefer to use the big full circle protractor. Then I'm going to take a regular ruler, and I'm first going to draw the horizontal, so that will be on line with the actual pinpoint of the middle of where I put the compass in. But I only draw into the first 2 circles. I don't draw into the middle 2 circles. So I'm going over there now with a pen so you can just see what I'm doing. And I'm only drawing the horizontals over the first 2 circles. So I'm leaving the middle 2 empty. We'll come back to those in a moment. And I'll do that then for the verticals. Again, just drawing the vertical lines over the actual 2 outer circles, which are going to be from the outside in, it's going to be your signs, and then it's going to be your planets. Now with my ruler, I'm lining up with those 30-degree marks that I made with the protractor, so I can get to draw all the sign segments onto the circle. And really, it doesn't have to be exact. We're not doing rocket science here. We're drawing an image, so we have a visual representation of the month. I always set it on the natural wheel, so we'll have Aries in the first position, as you'll see. But the idea being that you can just open this page, look at it, and see immediately what's going on with the astrology there. Now I've got my pen. It's a 0.1 millimeter Pigmamicron, and I'm just going over the circles that I did with the pencil line. So all the 4 circles were now going to be penned over, basically. When you're writing with pens, if you're right-handed, you want to go from the left to the right, because your arm is in a natural arc that way. So clearly you've got to turn the page and do your best. You're not going to make it exact, but you want to just line up your pen on those circles that we made. So these are going to be the signs. That outer circle will display the signs as per a normal chart would, because you've got the signs on the outside. Then you've got the planets. Typically then you would have the houses and then the aspects in the middle. We're slightly different on the middle, and I'll explain that in a moment. But generally we're just putting the lines there so we can then colour in the signs. Now I'm actually drawing the 2 inner circles just with the pen again, just going over the pencil lines. And these are the 2 circles that's going to contain the lunar phases and any aspects. Next, we're going to be drawing and writing in the actual sign glyphs. So starting in the first position, we've got Aries. This is the wheel laid out. It's what is called the natural wheel, where Aries is in the first house position. And I always do this for all my horoscopes. So I'm just going around the outside, writing in the sign positions. Now I'm getting my ephemera, so I'm looking down at the bottom to the planetary ingresses, bearing in mind we're doing April 2021, so I've marked it already in green. So it's the second paragraph down, and from there we can see that the planets that have changed signs is Mercury's gone into Aries. That was on the 4th. And I'm actually going to write that on the date of the 4th, the line of the 4th. So that's Mercury enters Aries. Venus enters Taurus on the 14th. Mercury then enters Taurus on the 19th, followed closely by the Sun entering Taurus on the 19th, and Mars enters Cancer on the 23rd. And those are all written down in the column. Next, I'm in the ephemeris looking on the far left column for any stations. And the only planet that is stationing retrograde this month is actually Pluto, and that will be on the 27th. So I note that on the page as well. And if you look in the body of the actual month, you'll see that Pluto is shaded out, and that means that it's gone retrograde. We can see that just there at the very end of April. We're looking at the moon's ingresses when the moon changes signs, and they're listed there because the moon is changing sign basically every 2.5 to 3.5 days. And in my far right column, I just write the sign that the moon enters on the day. Of course, it could be any time during the day. So I'm just going all the way down the column there, listing all the lunar ingresses. So we've got on the 1st, it enters Sagittarius, on the 3rd, Capricorn, the 5th, Aquarius, and so on, right down to the 30th when the moon is again entering Capricorn. And I list those all on the very right-hand column in my spread. I'll be colouring these signs in as well a little later on when we start getting down to the colours, as you'll see in a moment. The next thing I'm looking for is actually the lunar phases, and I'll pick up the 4 main phases. So on the 4th we had the last quarter. On the 12th it is a new moon. On the 20th we've got the first quarter, and then on the 27th will be the full moon. And I write it on the actual date when it occurs. I write the degree where it will be. So for instance, the new moon was on the 12th was at 22:25 Aries, and the full moon was at 7 degrees 06 Scorpio. And I'll write those specifically because I may come back to those requiring more specific commentary about exactly where the new moon and the full moons and the other quarters appear. Now I'm turning my attention to the wheel on the left-hand side, and I'm going to the ephemeris, and I'm looking at the first date of the month. So we're looking at April the 1st, and I'm going to find out where are the planets, because I'm going to draw them now actually on the wheel. So starting from the outside in, I see that Pluto is at 26 Capricorn, so I'll just kind of draw the symbol in there. We'll come back to that. Neptune will be at 21 Pisces. Uranus is at 9 Taurus. Saturn is at 11 Aquarius. Jupiter is at 23 Aquarius. Mars is at 16 Gemini. Mars actually then enters Cancer halfway through the month, so I will note that as well. Venus starts the month at 12 Aries and then enters Taurus midway through the month, and I'll draw that in as well with a dotted line. And then Mercury starts the month at 24 Pisces, enters Aries, goes all the way through Aries, and then actually enters Taurus as well. So I'll put Mercury with a dotted line for that movement there. And the Sun, of course, starts the month at 11 Aries and enters Taurus around the 21st. So all of those symbols and dotted lines will be entered onto the wheel, showing the actual planetary movement. And at the end, I just entered the retrograde dotted line for Pluto so that I can see that that's the only one going retrograde. So now we're going to be looking at the colours that are associated with the signs, and basically you need 12 colours for one for each of the 12 signs of the zodiac, and the fire signs have the primary colours. So Aries will be red, Leo will be yellow, and Sagittarius will be blue. Then when we working with the colour wheel, if we then take the air signs, we're going to have Gemini will be orange, Libra will be green, and Aquarius will be like a violet colour. Then when we get down to the tertiary colours, which are all the earth and water signs, I start off with Taurus. I call this tangerine. It's a mixture between red and orange. Then Cancer will be what I'm calling apricot, which is a mixture between orange and yellow. Then we have Virgo, which is like a chartreuse, which is a lime green. It's the mixture between the yellow and the green. The Scorpio will be like a turquoise, which is a mixture between the green and the blue. Moving on then to Capricorn, which will be a mixture of the blue and the violet. So it tends to be a purple because that's really quite a powerful colour for that. And then Pisces at the end will generally be like a shocking pink or a fuchsia, which is the colour between red and violet. So now I'm going to just take those exact same colours for the signs, because the signs colours basically remain the same as far as I'm concerned. And I'm going to mark them everywhere where Mars is actually now going to be in red, and I will mark that Mars's movements there as well. I've marked it in the book, and I've marked Aries in the moon's sign on the far right column. I'll then go through and I will colour in each of the planets in the colours that I see them as. And so, for instance, we have the sun I always do the sun in yellow, and I tend to do Mercury in green, which kind of relates to the Virgo side of it. I like to do Venus, the girl planet, in pink. I generally do Pluto in a dark red, whereas Mars is a bright red. And I'll do Saturn in a purple. I tend to do Jupiter in the blue, the royal blue. Neptune can often be a sea green, but in this case it's very much a lighter green. And then Uranus is always, I like to do that in an electric blue. So not all of the planets correlate directly to the colours of the signs, because we do have the 12 signs with their specific colours. And also, as I work on the moon changing sign column, the far right column, which sign is the moon in, I can see as the colour of the rainbow moves during the course of the month. It's just a visual interpretation of which sign the moon is in. I just like to have it coloured that way. That's why I use the sign colours in that right-hand column as well, showing the moon's sign. So we're really getting to it now. So on the left-hand page, I've got all the planets and their positions. There are, when this planet changes signs, it's listed on the right-hand side. I've got the lunar signs, and I've also got the lunar phases listed on the main page. And now we're going to actually colour those in with some shades of grey. 50 shades of grey we'll use to colouring the lunar phases. So basically you've got I'm using the 4 main lunar phases: the new moon, which is the black circle. I've then got the full moon at white circle. I've got the first quarter and the last quarter. So I will be using 4 different shades of grey, and I'm just going to be marking them off on the third circle in, and also on the lunar, where the actual phase is written there in the book just there, as you can see what I'm doing. So what I'm actually doing, I'm looking to see where is the full moon, and then that's going to be my lightest grey, and I'm picking it up. It's the 4th week of the month, and I will put it on the sign where it's occurring on the circle. Then I'm looking at the new moon position, which will be the darkest nights, and see that that's about the 2nd week of the month, and it's actually, what was the date there? It was the 12th of April, and I will then mark that with the darker grey where the new moon is. I'm also putting in the 2 positions for the last quarter, which was the 4th of April, and the first quarter, which is the 20th, and I just mark them there on the table. And then when I colour in the lunar phase circle, as you can see here, I'm using darker colours as we get towards the new moon, because that's when the moon is very dark. So when the moon is at full moon, it's much lighter, obviously, and then when it's at the new moon, we can't see it, so that's why I put the darker shade in there. So what I like to see is that how the moon is moving through the signs on the circle side, and you can actually see it's in the dark, then it comes into the light, and then it goes back down into the dark. And I mark with the same greys on the actual table on the right-hand side as we come into the light of the moon, and the moon starts to become more dominant of the evening sky over the sun, and that's what I'm working on there. So it's really just shades of grey for the lunar phases. And then I'll go back in with my white gel pen just to brighten up the full moon, because it got a little bit greyed over there. and I'll make that more white in my actual diagram in the 2 places where the symbol for the full moon is, and that's what I'm doing there, just adding the white. Finally, I'll just go back in over the title and spruce that up a bit with yellow, which is very much one of my branding colours. It's a colour I love, being a Leo, and I'll just spruce up the background of the title there and go back in with my pen, overwriting the April 2021, and then we are there with our Chart with Me April 2021 journal spread. If we'd had any major aspects between the outer planets, that would have gone in this actual central circle there. I would have drawn major aspect patterns there that were forming throughout the course of the month. So there you have it. I'm Alison Price. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.